Good morning, passengers. Welcome to Flight 701. Beautiful Monday morning. Currently absolute how the OCD in me. I have to get. It's just a tiny drop on my makeup bag, but it's enough to. My makeup bag's waterproof, but it's enough to drive me insane. All right. You're my best travel mug. Why are you leaking? Sorry about that. Yeah, so welcome to Pacific Airlines Flight 701. We are heading to Hobart, Tasmania. It's a wonderful town. It's currently 11 degrees Celsius. We're only heading for a top of 13 today. 7:02 a.m. And look how dark it is now. Hey, Scout. Let's get the road groups. Good to see. Beautiful. Beautiful sunny bunnies upstairs. Sulking. We're just starting to get the sunrise now. I feel bummed I have to put my headlights on because it's so dark. But hopefully you'll get to see some. Yeah, no, it looks nocturnal, doesn't it? This is what 7 a.m. looks like now. Yeah, but unfortunately I do have to put my lights on. But hopefully you'll get to see some sunrise. Look at that sky, guys, because the sun is just starting to come up. Good old winter. Winter is coming. When you're leaving for work and it's dark still. Yeah, baby. And of course it's getting dark earlier. So Sunny, she sort of, when she gets fed her usual time is when things are turning and it's starting to, get cozy and cold in the afternoon, get the house cozy, and the light's starting to fade, heading towards sunset. And the sun is setting at like 5. So she's tapping on her little paw like, hello, dinner at like 4:30 or 4 o'clock even. I'm like, nah, dude, come on. So like yesterday when I was cooking, I gave her half of her sachet just before 4:30, and then she promptly devoured the lot and went to sleep. And I gave her the second half a bit later when she woke up again. The porridge live stream. Yeah, do you know that Meg Healy, she watched it and she's like, oh my God, I have all of the ingredients. And she's got a mandarin tree. Couldn't believe it. So she actually made it yesterday and loved it. Green eyes, hello, beautiful. Foggy here in Brisbane. Yeah, it's quite a clear morning, but very cloudy. I really wanted to do a sunrise. It looks like it rained overnight too, which is great for us. We get a lot of rain here. I really wanted to do a sunrise live on the weekend, but it was really, mind you, the clouds this morning look absolutely spectacular. But I really want to show you guys the colours because autumn just delivers the most incredible sunrises. Well, my sleepy little town's waking up. The bakery's cranking. I mean, it is 7 in the morning, The payoff for it being dark in winter is in summer we get sunshine till 10 o'clock at night. So, I wouldn't give that up for anything. I love that. I love it in summer that you can get home from work and you still feel like you've got half a day to get stuff done. It's just great. Oh, you've been up since 3. I've been waking up at 3 a.m. every morning for like the last week, except for last night. I didn't. I'm wondering if my body's like, I will only wake you up at 3 a.m. on days that you don't have to go to work. I mean, I have had one day in the last couple of weeks where I was awake at 3 a.m. actually and I had to go to work, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be such a hard day. But it was so busy that the day flew by anyway. But the porridge, I have in my car, in my travel mug, or what I call a keep cup, but what you guys would know is Traveller Scout. travel mug. Um, I made a coffee, got the beans happening, made the espresso coffee, and then I put a dollop of the cinnamon whipped cream I made yesterday for the porridge on top. Oh my God. It's the most amazing coffee. I mean, it's sweet, and I don't have sugar in coffee usually, so it's a bit of an adjustment, but man, oh man. We've got to be resourceful when we're making food now. Like, don't waste anything. If you've got some cinnamon whipped cream in your fridge, think of ways to use it. And I highly recommend putting a blob in your coffee. It's amazing. You're the same every day. Yeah, I mean, Chinese medicine, the healing time that we sleep finishes at 3 a.m., but it's also 3 a.m. Like there's different parts of the body that relate to what time you wake up, and 3 a.m. is liver and digestion. So, eating food that's really good for your liver, getting your digestion. Oh, my digestion's been amazing lately. I've had no issues. Oh, well, actually, I did. I had a really big dinner one night, like the sort of size meal that we'd normally, like back in the day, would have eaten. But because I don't eat a lot at dinner time now, we went out to dinner and I had this chicken palmy and chips and veggies, and I ate them a lot because it was amazing. And I woke up at like midnight thinking I was going to be sick, like I was just not digesting enough. That wasn't much fun. Got up and made a cup of licorice tea, which is really good for digestion. And just walked around for a while and then went back to bed. But I think I don't get gastric reflux, but I think it was one of those kind of. Joey, good morning. Phone may cut out shortly because we are on the little road where the reception cuts out leading up to the highway. If I disappear, I will be back. Don't panic. Hopefully I'll get opportunities to read chat when the traffic's slow. This road is pretty busy this morning. Like, I've been leaving a tiny bit later. There isn't usually this many cars all in a row. We can pass the bus, dude. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Go, 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 go. Anytime. Toot, toot. So, Joey, yeah, we need to talk about Bryan. But what I thought I would do, I'm pretty interested to hear what you guys would like us to do a live on. Because I'll be doing a live on Thursday. I may even go live. I can't remember what I've got in my diary for Thursday, actually. I don't want to commit. At some point on Thursday, I'm going to do a live about Bryan Kohberger. And there's a few things I want to discuss, but I'm also really keen to hear what you guys would like to talk about. And, I'm even happy to open up the panel. But a disclaimer. Well, that's what I mean. We're talking about Idaho 4, Ms. Kale. I need to know a bit more, though. That's the case. That's the Bryan. My thumbnail, or not my thumbnail, the name of this video wasn't meant to be cryptic. I figured because of the Y and Bryan, people would know. But that was probably a bit dumb of me. But I was also, in a rush to go live. I was going to do, we need to talk about, I think, what did I put? There's something about Bryan, or we need to talk about Bryan, like a play on we need to talk about Kevin. But yeah, no, we're talking about Idaho 4, that's the case. But specific questions, I know Joey is keen, and I know Humanimal's keen. But I'm curious to know what in particular you would like to chat about. So I can, do like a little agenda. Can't believe how busy it is. Am I missing something? But guys, we drive this way every day when I go to work. I think I've just sort of somehow ended up in the middle of the busiest time, which it usually isn't. I'm wondering if it's because it's getting darker. People are like, I don't want to get out of bed. I'm going to hit the snooze alarm one more time. No, just one more time. No, I'll just snooze one more time. Because I have been leaving like at about now. But there are little windows when you leave this little coastal town where I live that you can get stuck in heaps of traffic. But maybe it's Monday. Everyone's just, they're like, let's start the week well. Let's not be late for work on Monday. Let's leave with plenty of time. I don't know what's going on. I mean, there's a lineup of cars coming out of Lewisham. What's going on? It's peak minute. I'm telling you, it's peak minute. Also, guys, just remember, while I'm like on this part of the road, I won't be able to read chat. So hi if anyone's coming. I can see I've got more people. Hello to anyone who's arrived. But also, if you do have questions and make comments and stuff and I don't see them, it's not because I'm being an arsehole. It's because I'm focusing on the safety of other people on the road and mine. So if you have got comments and questions, please do me a favour, and rather than think that I'm ignoring you, just copy paste them again when the traffic is crawling or once I'm at the car park in about half an hour. Because, I did put the question out there, and I'm sure some of you might be thinking of things you'd like me to cover, but I can't, obviously. While I'm driving on a highway, I'm not going to be like Bullhorn Betty bloody. What was she doing? She was doing 90 miles. I don't know if that was true or not. That sounds fast. She was reading comments, pouring a coffee out of this big coffee pot and vaping all at the same time. You won't get that from me. But part of these lives are obviously for you to enjoy the scenery on the drive. And just please keep reposting. I can't even reach my phone. I know in chat a lot of the time, not on my channel necessarily, but in chat people go, scroll up and read my message. I can't, guys. You need to repost it if it's that important. But it might be unfortunate. Some people may have to have left the chat before I get to the car park. But I will read back the chat for this live and make notes if I missed anything. So I really appreciate you guys. But we definitely need to. As you know, I wasn't going to do anything really about it till we had some gritty stuff to talk about. But I kind of feel like there's a lot of stuff we need to talk about, and I will be sticking to facts. If we get into any kind of legal conversation. But as they said in the movie The Castle, at the moment with him, I don't know, it's just the vibe. It's Marbo, it's everything. There's something about Bryan. And I have got something really interesting that I want to play you guys about him too, that made me go, well there, Nelly, and it makes a lot of sense. Hey, Jamin. No beverages or snacks provided. No seatbelts either on this flight. If you didn't bring your own, you're fucked, really. I've got a busy day coming up. Well, I mean, I'm assuming I do. Well, no, I'm not assuming. I know I do. We're so busy at the moment that there's no way I'm not going to have a busy day. It's unbelievably busy. Is that my beautiful Shanna? Hello, gorgeous. I think he looks like Bert too. And why? I don't know. Bad genes? All right, let's have some fun while I'm driving because I can't read chat till we're crawly. If you had to have sex with Bert or Ernie, and if you didn't have sex with one of them, you'd die. Yeah, one of these games, because that's what we do at 7 in the morning in Australia. We don't really. I'm just weird. Who would you shag? I'm putting my vote in straight up. Ernie. Always thought Bert looked like Beaker from the Muppets, and that long, narrow face thing. The dead eyes. I'm Ernie. I think Ernie would like to, go out and have a good bite to eat. He's a little bit more chunky and round. Big, round, smiley face. I'm totally an Ernie girl. R.I.P. No, you can't. I mean, logistically, it's impossible anyway, so it's not like you're committing to something. I mean, they're puppets, for God's sake. I mean, that's not a bad, I've seen people play this game and it's like, would you shag Bryan Kohberger or Chris Watts? Come on, it's Bert and Ernie. I'd choose death if they had to play that version of the game. But Ernie and Bert, come on. They're fictitious for starters. Bert is an incel. Well, I think he might be too. Them bushy eyebrows, he's very Kohberger-like. I'm going to have to behave myself when the trial happens because I had bloody Dr. Spiegel in the Depp and Heard trial. I had Sam the Eagle from the Muppets. Mel even did a little video and put Sam the Eagle in the witness stand. Now I can just see we're going to have bloody Bert sitting there. You would choose Grover Scout. That's not a choice. Oh, look, all right. Yeah, all right. Let's just talk about if you had to shag a Muppet, any of them from Sesame Street or the Muppet Show, I'd shag Animal. Which I've always had a thing for drummers. Shanna's not holding back of the critique of Bryan. He's just got the weirdest energy to me. It's so hard to read him, He's a really random unit. And then he's got this sort of, and it might be because he's a vegan. I don't know if he's been able to be a true vegan in prison, but he's got this unbelievably clear skin and complexion, and then this very neat hair, and this sort of calm presence. But there's also this, and this is irrespective of whether he's guilty or not, but then there's also this sort of off-kilter vibe. I mean, if I was in a room with him, I wouldn't run away out of the room in fear or anything like that. But I'd probably avoid chatting to him. I wouldn't be drawn to him. I'd kind of be like, who's that random dude in the corner? That would puts Bryan in the corner. But Jesus Christ. The rains are coming, Marge. It's an Aussie ad. And it's not actually rain. It's Marge is out on the port, down on the veranda, prepping the peas for dinner, and they're so moist. The amount of moisture flying out of them, it sounds like it's raining on the tin roof. And Farmer Joe's like, "Here comes the rain, Marge." Is it peas or is it corn? Now I don't even know what I'm talking about. The causeways are so, it's like being in the English wars. Moist. Oh, you definitely can't convict someone because of how they look, Joey. We're just having a bit of a laugh. Of course you can't. I mean, look at Chris Watts. I personally found him repulsing to look at. Didn't do anything for me. I mean, to me, I felt like he had a squash football head. Shannon will vouch for that. But there were people that were probably like, how could he have done it? He's this clean-cut, good-looking, all-American guy. I love rain too. I love it when sorry about my squeaky wipers. I love it when it's a rainy day like this to be at the office. Sounds like a donkey. Eeyore. A seal? How come you couldn't hear the case file dude the other day when I was live and he just started playing on my phone? But you can hear me donkey wipers. Seal and donkey. But yeah, no, Joey, we wouldn't convict someone on their looks. I reckon in the past, though, there's probably been a good-looking rooster who's walked free because of their good looks. I mean, Ted Bundy had a bit of freedom in between, being on the police radar. I mean, I don't think Bundy's cute either. Please tell me that's rain on my windscreen and not another crack. Oh, man, if I've got to replace a windscreen again, you have got to be joking. It was rain, thank God. There was this little streak of rain that looked like a crack in my windscreen, and I only had to replace my windscreen last year. So I'm like, I get a free replacement windscreen once a year on my insurance. But I was like, you've got to be joking. Like, am I going to be dealing with another insurance company? Because, wow, I've already had 3 on my plate for the last few months. Do I need the 4th? Not really. Friggin' hell. Give me a break, please. But yeah, I'm really keen to hear everyone's just where they're sort of placed with Koberger at the moment, and that random silence that equated to a not guilty plea. And I listened to the lawyer, I listened to Peter Tragos and explaining it, and it's just doesn't happen here. So I was like, all right, let's put Pete on and see what the fuck it's all about. And his explanation, I was like, I mean, I was definitely more informed, but I was still really confused. It was weird. You replace your windshields monthly? Oh my God. Why is that, Shanna? Do you get hail? Monthly. Whoa. Why is that? Hopefully I'll be able to read your response. We're going to be cruising down the highway in the wet rain shortly, so I won't be able to read chat for a while, but if we get to that bit of the highway where it gets a bit crawly, are from the rocks. Lots of rocks in the desert. That was one thing that really surprised me when I went to Mongolia, because I knew about the Gobi Desert, and in fact, it had always been depicted in such a romantic way in books and stuff when I was a kid, and when I used to look at photos of people in Mongolia and think, God, this is such a cool place. They're like a storybook, and when you go there, you feel like you're in a storybook. It's beautiful. I mean, you think the views here are vast. You should see Mongolia. It's insane. Um, but the Gobi Desert is a rock desert, not a sand one. So when you're on the back of a fucking camel that has the most bent nose ever, which I later learned was because it was such a disobedient camel, people pulled on the rope all the time to try to make it behave. And as a result, it ended up with this bloody Bryan crooked nose. Thanks for letting me know that. The thought of falling off suddenly became a very different scenario to the possibility of landing on sand, because it was a rocky desert. I mean, there's a bloody glacier in the middle of the Gobi Desert, and we were there in summer, and there was still ice, and we could walk on it. And we're in shorts and a t-shirt walking on this friggin' glacier in the middle of a desert. Oh, damn, Joe, you got to go to work. Have a good morning, Groover. And I went live to do this because I know you're really keen to chat. So I will read the comments and keep an eye out for when I'm doing the live, because it's you and Humanimal that really want to have a live about it. So thanks for popping in. Have a good day at work, and let us know if you socialise with any TV stars. Yeah, Mongolia is my favourite country that I've been to. But in terms of the favourite one that I've been to where I've lived and where I would live again is Vietnam. But I do have Japan still on my bucket list. In fact, it's the only country left that I really, 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 really want to go to. There's other countries I'd like to go to, but I really want to go to Japan. And a few of us are talking about possibly going to Sweden for Eurovision. But I don't think I'm going to be able to afford it, especially if I have to pay to repair my house. There's no way I'm going to Sweden for Eurovision next year. No way. But it'd be fun. If Australia won Eurovision, that'd be ideal, because we'd get to have the final here. But I think there's a lot of countries that are still as miffed as we are that we're even in it. I mean, we love that we are. It's kind of random though, isn't it? Australians just loved Eurovision so much that we were able to have a wild card one year, and people loved it so much that now we're a permanent fixture in the Eurovision lineup. But I think the European countries, we've sent some pretty amazing acts to Eurovision that haven't won it. We've come close. I think Danny Im came second one year, but I can't imagine that Europe whatever vote, Australia is the winner. But you never know. I mean, Kate Miller High Kid went 1 year. So did Guy Sebastian. Like, we've sent good singers. Oh, no, Jess Mauboy. Wasn't. Did Guy do it or was it Anthony Kelly or somebody else went? Like, we've sent some of the best. We should send Jimmy Barnes. Scotland would vote for Jimmy. I meant to tell you, Scout, at the start, sunny this morning, because I've had a lot of time at home, snoring her head off, but I always say goodbye to her, unless she's like absolutely out cold, I'll leave her. But if she's sort of stirring a bit, so I did my usual goodbye to her and I straightened up her ottoman because it was on a precarious angle. And then I'm gathering all my stuff to walk out the door, and I carry a lot of stuff out the door. And she was like, awesome, it's Zoomies time. Chase me. And I was like, dude, I'm going. I don't know why she does that. Like, whenever she knows that I'm preparing to leave, she makes me feel guilty because she's suddenly like wide awake and wanting me to chase her around the house. It's like, mate, I feed you breakfast and I put on the coffee pot. I make my herbal tea and have that, feed her breakfast. Then I put on the coffee pot, and while the coffee pot's brewing, that's the perfect time for me to chase you around the house. But she eats her food and goes straight to the ottoman, passes out on her back like some sort of party animal. And I'll go and have a shower and get dressed and start packing my lunch and doing all that sort of stuff. And she's flat on her back, snoring her head off. But as soon as I'm sort of turning on the radio, because I put the radio on to keep her company, and I have to put the hall light on because she's always at the front door when I get home. And now that it's dark, I need to see where she is when I open that door so she doesn't escape. Suddenly she's like bolt upright, big eyes. Let's do this. And I feel horrible because I'm like, I have to go, kid. I've actually been not late for work, but I've left late for work for going, okay, I'll indulge you for 10 minutes. Let's go. She's not interested in syncing her routine with mine. We're so, what's the word? Is it imprinted when an animal imprints on a human? Like, any men in my life, they've got a massive obstacle they need to get past, a hurdle to overcome, a thing to get around. Sunny, my sister made a comment the other night. Just like, they've got to get past Sunny first. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's going to be interesting. But we're so imprinted. It's very cute. But yeah, I think there'll be, I mean, she gets jealous. Like if I come home and I've been hanging out somewhere where there's other animals and she smells their scent, she's like, her reaction is, where have you been? You're cheating on me. And then she just gives me this look of, you horrible person. How could you do this to me? But like if I'm on the phone, I don't like having the phone up to my head, so I just put it on speaker. And she gets so jealous that I'm talking to someone, not her, that she sort of like, if the phone is sitting on the arm of the armchair, she'll try and flick it off. Or she'll get on my lap and put her face right up in front of me. Which kind of makes talking to whoever I'm talking to difficult. Like, so jealous. If she could work out a way to smash my phone with a mallet, she'd do it. Yes, Sonny's a legend. She's so cute. Everyone does. Like, even people that don't like cats love her. Well, not that people don't like cats. People that are allergic to cats, of course, she goes to them more than anyone else. But people that aren't huge cat people, I mean, I'd never let anyone into my house that doesn't love animals. But you know, the people in my life that are more dog people, that's not that they don't like cats, but they just would never have one. Those sorts of people, absolutely besotted with her. I mean, she's ridiculously beautiful. Like her face is just, and it's really, it doesn't convey well when I pick her up and stuff and try and show you. I mean, you guys have seen photos of it. You know what she looks like, but her head is tiny. It fits in my hand. Like she's got a very small, dainty face. And even when I take her to the vet's like, everyone come and look at Sunny. Sunny's here. And they all come in and just gush because she's so gorgeous. But she's a total goofball. That's why I love her. I love that she's insanely beautiful, but incredibly goofy and uncoordinated. Like playtime with her, I just look at her and go, really? This is the best you've got to offer everyone? She's clumsy. On the back of my office chair has like this bit of a rod of metal down the back, like the spine of the chair, I guess. You can move the backrest up and down, but it hangs below the seat. She smacked her head on it, I don't know, 3-4 times. And every time she does it, and she makes a noise, like she hits her head hard, but then she looks at me like I did it to her, and I'm like, dude, I'm nowhere near you or the chair. Haven't you realised there's something metal and hard? Like, if you're going to hide behind that chair and leap out like you're some kind of ninja, maybe change the direction you leap out from behind it. Don't leap straight into the bit of metal. But yeah, then she gets all sulky because she thinks that I've done it to her. I have to give her a treat and sit on the kitchen floor and pat her while she has her treat and tell her how what a brave little soldier she is. It's fucking ridiculous, honestly. She's got me wrapped around her little paws. She's worth it, though. She's the best. We're a package deal. Love me, love Sonny. End of story. But it's such a beautiful privilege to have animals in your life. And I think, you know, growing up, we had cats that were outdoor cats. I mean, they weren't outdoor cats officially, but they went in and out. And we did have a couple of murderers. But, you know, growing up, that was just the norm. I mean, we were on a farm too. But now that Australia is so much about indoor cats, you just get a very different, deeper relationship with them. Like, I mean, I absolutely loved cats that we had when I was growing up. And if one of them came and slept on your bed with you or something like that, it was the best thing ever. But when you've actually got them indoors and you get to watch them and get to know them really well, a house without a pet is just a house. Exactly. He was pure love. Did you have a feline that was pure love? Was that the one you were chatting about the other day? Oh, no, that was the one that you had to go and feed while I was live. But yeah, my mate Scotty, he's got a gorgeous little female cat called Jonesy. And he and I talk all the time about how, yeah, if anyone's not sure how they feel about a cat, once you've got one and it's an indoor cat and the relationship you build with them because you're in this house, it's incredible. They're not just coming home at dinner time to be fed and then they go off prowling again. Like, once they're in your home and they don't go outside, you really get to know them even better, and they're just such great little animals. And I love dogs and cats, but I like how cats are so independent, whereas dogs are so much more needy. And my house just doesn't work with the dog unless I got like a little teacup thing and had puppy pads on the floor everywhere, which yuck, no thank you. People say how gross kitty litter is. I can't have a house with puppy pads everywhere. Ugh. That's not my thing. I mean, I've got friends that have their dogs inside with puppy pads everywhere, and when I go to their houses, I'm just like, yeah, but I couldn't do it. It always looks like somebody's walked into your living room with a bag of nappies and it's just exploded, and they're just strewn all over the floor. It's not aesthetically pleasing for me. But I don't have Sonny's kitty litter sitting in the middle of the living room, you know. But yeah, the way my house is, and I love big dogs. Like if I get a dog, I want a big, like a lab, you know, retriever, Roddy, that sort of thing. I don't do the tiny dog. Again, yeah, she's a grey tabby. She does have white. The back of her tail is white, and her belly is blonde, curly beach hair. But yeah, she's a grey tabby. The two other cats that I've had, like not as a kid, because I had cats when we were kids, but since I've left home, Oliver and Biscuit were both brown tabbies. I'd never experienced the grey tabby before. We had a grey tabby when I was really little, like, you know, toddler age, Gaby. But yeah, Sunny's my first grey tabby, and they're pretty special. Like Oliver and Biscuit were peas in a pod. They were so similar in so many ways. Sunny's so different to them. I mean, Sunny knows she's a cat, whereas brown tabbies think they're dogs and act like dogs. But yeah, just you're right, having another living creature, and just the difference in the energy having an animal in your home when you get home, it's just so special. Thank God I'm going down, not up. I reckon that would have been a very slow trip behind that car. Oh, cool. I'm not shoved right in the corner. We're back at Tuba. I've got to sort out all the thumbnails on my channels because there's about 20 videos that have this bloody graffiti. Tuba. Pixie bobs. That's a cute word. Pixie bobs. I have to check them out. I can't remember what my life was like before my two dogs. Yeah, animals are incredible. I mean, if I had the right sort of house, I'd love to have a dog, but I have to fully fence, which I really love that where I live, we don't all have big front fences and walls, like that you can just walk across the lawn and into someone's home. I love that. But I'd have to put a huge fence like right on my boundary and then down to where the garden path that leads to my driveway is, and then a big gate or something across the driveway. To fully fence it, because my front door is very close to the road, and people are like, just get a dog door. Because I was talking about dogs having to go to the loo. Just get a dog door. And I'm like, I have one door into my house and it's right on the road, and human beings can get through a dog flap. Like, that's dumb. And also, no offense to dogs, but the kind of dogs I'm into are a bit stupid. And it'd just go straight out the dog flap and out onto the street. Or it would live, and I'd have to have, I don't know what in the house. I'd have to be taking it out to go to the loo all the time in the middle of the night, because they always love that, the 3 a.m. middle of winter wee, which is fine if you've got other doors into your house and stuff, and or you can put a dog flap somewhere where it's safe and the dog can just let themselves in and out. But I don't have that privilege. And then I'd be letting it, I'd have to get up and go out with it all the time. Or the house is on stilts, the dog would have to live downstairs in the garden. So I'd be up in the house and this dog that I adored would be down under the house. What's the point? And I actually had a girl lecturing me about every problem has a solution. You can make it work. And I'm like, I actually can't make it work in a way that will be worth getting one. Because it's either going to have to be outdoors in a little, have its own little, kennel and everything down under the house. Well, I come home and feed it dinner and I go back up into my warm, cozy house and there's a dog freezing its arse off down under my house. No, thank you. Or I'd have to build a bloody Great Wall of China around my place, which I don't want to do. I don't have the money to do it, but also where I live, as you guys know, I mean, we're near the beach. Like, people just don't have big walls and fences. I mean, some parts of where I live people do, but I've never wanted to live in a house up behind a big wall. My house is cute. Like, I love coming up the street and seeing it, big wall and hide it. Your tabby temperament was very much like a pixie bob. I'll have to Google them. Can I have a look at some of the Bryan Kobecker things now on here? And did I miss anyone? Said hi to Grand Eyes, Miss K and Scout. Joey. Yeah, it is your liver at 3. Oh, Grand Eyes is gone, I think, but it is your liver at 3 a.m. Liver and digestive system. I did remember to bring makeup this time. That's, progress. Put a face on. I felt naked last week at work without makeup on. Like, I really only wear makeup for work or when I go out, and well, sometimes for YouTube, but not a lot lately. It's very odd being at work without makeup on. I felt very unprofessional for some reason and naked. I felt naked. And I don't wear a heap of makeup, but just that little bit of coverage and eyelash action makes such a difference. Joe Wilson, I think he needs a fair chat. All chat about him is he is 100% guilty. Yeah, they are very much like that. I mean, you hear channels just basically talking about him like he's already been convicted. And as much as people for some reason don't like it, it's so weird. Like, if they were in court with a matter, they'd be screaming to the rooftops, I'm innocent until proven guilty. Stop pointing the finger and accusing me. I mean, it is a fact that, innocent people have been convicted of crimes for centuries. But it's also a fact that people, when they're charged with something, it's because there's evidence pointing to them being the perpetrator. However, the onus is then on the prosecution to prove that. And until it's proven, that person is innocent. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know Joey's gone. But I'm not going to be doing a live that's just about all the things we love about Bryan Kohberger, because I'm certainly intrigued. But I'm finding him to be such an interesting case study. I mean, if he wasn't facing murder charges, but he was just this person that was out and about in the community and doing something that put him in the public eye, I'd probably still do a live about him, because, like, why can't I read this guy? Like, what is this dude's energy? There's just something really odd about him. Doesn't mean he's guilty, but he's a complex individual. He's not sending out an energy that's familiar, and it's not easy to read, because it's almost sort of like there's this kind of clean living, nerdy, academic sort of demeanor. And then there's this sort of, at times, dead-eyed, weird, kind of can't work out what the fuck's going on with him thing. And then there's probably something else. I don't know. He's so hard to read. I mean, Chris Watts was really easy to read. He was just a spineless, self-centered pig, like, I shouldn't say pig, I love pigs, but he was really easy to read. He was just that pathetic Bryan Laundrie type. Just those weak as piss, self-centered, entitled men with no regard for anyone else. Not just the people that they murdered, but also the family and friends of. Like, just even their own families, just no regard for how their actions were going to impact so many people. What they wanted was the priority, and fuck everybody else. But with Kohberger, and I mean, I've acted for criminals, and for the most part, they were just really bad criminals because they got caught. There was only one client that I had the entire time I did criminal law where I got like a mega off-kilter vibe from him. Everyone else was just like your everyday Joe. There was nothing. I think as soon as somebody's charged with something, the public just tend to go straight down the, ooh, he's creepy road or she's creepy road. And sometimes people are, like Adrian Bailey, who murdered Jill Maher, was very creepy. Jerry Baden Clay, who murdered his wife. Sleazy, creepy. He was also a Bryan Laundrie, Chris Watts type. But even way more arrogant than them, if you can believe it. But Kohberger, I'm picking up so many different things. From him. Even like his facial expression when they were driving back to Pennsylvania, like his facial expression in the car, like, I don't pick up creepy from that. I pick up really nervous and also confused because they'd been picked up. Like when they get stopped the second time, and part of it to me is just like, they're just like, what the fuck? We've been picked up, we've been stopped again. But everyone's like, look at how creepy he is. I'm like, well, in that particular bit of footage, it's more like, oh, fuck, we've been pulled over again. This isn't good. But then there's a tiny bit of him shitting himself in that expression too. But yeah, we'll have a fair chat for sure. Oh, Joey did a caps reminder. Shanna came in. Even Dateline is, yeah, I don't really do any of the American. I mean, Dateline's meant to be one of the. Is it Dateline? It's meant to be one of the better ones. But I mean, if we've all been witnessing a decline in the media reporting, not just in the US, but around the world. I mean, I did a live about it on the weekend with Jocks on Frillo's death. But the beauty here is that a lot of media outlets are now saying this speculation is actually out of control, and you're feeding the masses who, for some reason now, just can't be satisfied with a tragic story. It's got to be next level sensationalistic, and you're making it that, and you're feeding the masses because the masses move towards that mainstream media. They don't generally, unless you sort of, I mean, I've worked in media, but also growing up, like I had parents who sort of instilled in us the importance of seeking out, independent journalism. And I mean, my dad was in the public eye, and the mainstream media had a field day with him all the time. And that's probably why my mum and dad were like, you've got to think about the sources of the information you're getting it from, and if there's some sort of, political agenda and motive under what they're doing, and who they're owned by, and if they're connected to a political party, and, seek out the quality stuff, basically. I'm nearly done. I'm just going to do my mascara. I'll just scroll down a bit because I think I've covered that comment. You sent me a Robert Frost poem. Please read it ASAP. I will, Groover. Thanks, Shanna. Yeah, no copies on these flights. Oh, we talked about Bert. Try and have a threesome. Ernie probably has the bigger doodle. Bert is an incel. Why do you believe BK stayed silent instead of entering a plea? Well, because it doesn't happen here, I was really confused, and I might have covered, Miss K might have still been here when I was talking about it, but I actually watched Peter Tragos to see what he said about it, and I'm still not really confident that I understand the reasoning behind it. But I thought part of the live that I'm doing, I've got Peter on my list to play his explanation, and we can just discuss it, and hopefully someone will come in who can explain it. But oh my God, guys, if I hear one more person say secret grand jury, I'm going to lose my mind. They're not secret, they're private, and they always are. They're not open to the public. It's not something the public usually gets to consume. And then with Koberger, suddenly it was all done in secret. But again, the word secret gets used somewhere, and suddenly it spreads like wildfire, and everyone's like, a secret grand jury. Well, when have you ever been able to sit in on a fucking grand jury? Either literally be in the room or watch it stream. Anyone? Anyone? No, none of you? So why are you calling it secret? You've never been allowed to be in one anyway. It's a court proceeding you're not invited to. The end. But, probably Ashley Banfield or somebody came out straight away, a secret grand jury. And they're all still crapping on about it. And it's like, stop making a mountain out of a molehill. There's way more interesting elements to this case and story to discuss than latching onto a word that is irrelevant in the scheme of things. Grand juries don't invite you to join them. That's just the way it is. It's not secret. It's just not for you. Fuck me dead. I know Jen Lou's irritated by that too. But yeah, we'll chat about that, Miss K, if you're still around, because Peter Tragos's explanation still left me going, huh. So I think I'll play it and we can all watch it together and see if we can make it all make sense for each other. That's the plan with that. I'm just going to put on some lips, some tinted lip balm, and I'm done. Oh, and a little bit of a scarf would be nice. It's a bit brisk here, 8 degrees. A lot colder than where I've come from. Those 3 degrees make a huge difference. But, I mean, back on Joey's comment too, like, I'll never, ever discuss any criminal case and make out that the person's already been convicted. I've never done that. I never will, just so you know. But it happens all the time. I mean, they were talking about Koberger like he was found guilty from the very start. It's happened in every case we've watched. Yeah, that's some choice, Chris or Bryan. I know, right? So they can question the grand jury process. What was Miss K's question? Why it was silent? Yeah, I don't think that was. Oh, anyway, we'll talk about it. I'm going to let Peter Tragos explain that one. See if you guys can make sense. Apparently, this is not a discussion. Why not? You can jump the fence, Jamin, for the sake of a game. Animal does have amazing stamina. You're right. Dead shark eyes. But then sometimes he doesn't. There's some photos that he doesn't. He just looks like your average college kid, you know? Shoves a pile of bacon. Yum. Ernie is more colourful, but it's boring. And Ernie wore stripy tops, you know? His eyes are soulless. Are we talking Bert or Bryan? Chris Twats equals chicken legs. I mean, I know I'm way behind, guys. I just didn't want to miss anything, so I don't have to read the chat later, basically, because I've got plenty of time. Everyone loves a drama. Great timing and unpredictable. Hang on, Pete is probably one of the not many giving Bryan a fair chat. He's always fair. I mean, I think the lawyers online on YouTube generally are, because that's how we're trained. We have to be. We know they're not guilty until that's proven. But even so, his explanation about the silent plea, I still am not convinced it makes sense. Not that it doesn't make sense, but it's so unfamiliar. Like some of the stuff that he was saying, I'm just like, there's just all these elements to it that are not part of our judicial system here. So I don't get it. It didn't, hopefully someone will be in the chat that can explain some of what he's saying to me, because, it's so strange. Bee's knees. I didn't even know you'd come in, and you've probably come and gone. JT lived in Japan for 2 years. Oh, the house, that's another story entirely. They have an island in Japan full of cats. Let's meet in New Zealand. I'm keen to, mate. Absolutely. Families and associates regarding being harassed both in person and via social media, in addition to threats and what appears to be intimidation. Is that to do with the Koberger? Sunny Bum has imprinted on all of us. Every vet found him adorable, a pure love. No, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. We did have some cat chat, and the Pixie Bobs. Oh, oh, Miss K, cute. Love the rescues. You have a 4-foot chain fence for the two pups in your in-ground pool. I know. What's the fur baby's name? Did Miss K tell us? He's a looker. He has an underbite. He's an Australian Bulldog cross German Shepherd. No, Bryan is a very complex subject. No one wanted him. He's a handful, but I got him sorted. I got a dog whisperer. It cost me 200 an hour, 2 lessons. Good girl. A friend of mine's got this incredibly beautiful dog, Clancy, and Clancy's got this disease with his trachea, so he can't swallow. So you've got to actually, when you feed him, you've got to help the food go down his throat, and he does sometimes end up puking and stuff. Like, it's unavoidable. They were told he would not live for more than 90 days, and he's just turned 3. I think the professional mental health evidence that's presented at that trial is going to be fascinating because, I'm not trained. I can't read the guy, but I reckon it's going to be pretty interesting stuff. That's why I say Idaho 4, because he's grabbing all the headlines. That's what he wants. And if you're talking about Bryan, like I've said from the start that, and I only said it last week too, like to me, if he is the perpetrator, it wasn't just about the crimes, it's about the whole thing, including the legal process. And even if he ends up ultimately in prison, like if it turns out it's him, the vibe I get from him is it's the whole story, not just the crimes. They said he's a retirement dog, so not even my vet says she doubts he's 10. Let me go back up. Yeah, shitting himself. But that's great news, Miss K, about your puppy. Yeah, shitting himself, but also like there was an element of, fuck, we've been pulled over again. Like it was only like 9 or 10 minutes. My 2 last dogs I had as puppies, they're 16 and 17. Well done. It's so hard losing animals. It's such a deep, intense pain. The child-free group I have on Facebook, we're all animal lovers. Not all of us are animal lovers, but most people have got animals. And if an animal dies, everyone just rallies. And the way we rally in the group is people, when they lose an animal, they ask everyone to post pictures of their animals to cheer them up. And then we all put personalised messages from our animals. It's really cute. I was looking at it this morning because one of our members lost her cat Molly. So Sunny's on there giving her a little message of condolence. Sunny's, the photo I posted, she's lying flat on her back upside down, just not a fuck in the world. And I contemplated saying, while Sunny has absolutely no fucks to give about absolutely everything, she does give a fuck about you and Molly. I can't remember what I ended up writing, but everyone writes like a funny little caption. It's a really nice way to cheer people up. Yep, lawyer reacts. Yep, Pete. Yeah, I get different eyes from him. I think since he's been arrested, yeah, but if you look at photos of him when he was just out and about in the world as a college student and photos, I mean, it's not something you'd even notice if you walk past him in the street, you know? According to Bertrand Russell, we cannot prove anything. I can't be proven guilty in the strict sense, but found guilty. Interesting. Haven't heard that before, but yeah. Might have to check out Bertrand. Meaning, do you think there's an agenda by Team BK pleading silent? Also, ... I don't at the moment, but again, this is something I want us all to talk about. We're going to watch Peter Tragos explain it, and he gives several alternative theories on why it happened. And then from that, we can work out what we think is the most likely, possibly, or we may not. Like I said, I watched it and it didn't make sense to me. Like, it did make sense what he was saying, but they seemed like such, and I don't want to be held to any words. Some of it seemed such an insignificant reason to do it. I mean, it's clearly significant, like there's a point in it, but it was just odd. We'll look at it. But I am definitely not an authority on it. It's not something that happens here, so I don't know why that strategy would even be used. And so I listened to Pete talking about it, and I'm still not really confident that I understand why it was done. So I can't really confirm at the moment that I think there's an agenda. It may just be a choice that people have, and sometimes they choose to do it. And then Pete went on to sort of give numerous reasons why, but they all seem to be, I don't know. It's not something I feel qualified enough or informed enough yet to comment on. We may even, I'll do some research before we go live and do some reading up on it as well. So I've got a bit of a background as to why it's an option. But regarding why Koberger chose to do it and what Peter Tragos said, I'm still not sure I fully understand it. And a lot of the American members of this community said it was a really odd thing as far as they were concerned too. So we're all kind of possibly in the same boat. That's right. You are found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Or in civil cases on the balance of probabilities, which is an even lower threshold. But, I mean, that's how the law has to work. It basically, crimes have elements that you've got to prove, and if you can't prove them all, you have to acquit. That's just the way the system is. I mean, so many cases, especially murder cases, it's all circumstantial evidence. So you could never 100% prove anyone guilty. I agree with that Bertrand Russell comment. But if you can prove each element and you've got enough evidence to do that, then that's how the system works. Yeah, I know his name. I've just never really... I'm not that much of an intellectual, Joman, but the person who formulated the current scientific paradigm, Russell pointed out that any observation can be contradicted. Hence, we cannot prove things, but only falsify things. I sometimes wonder what it would be like to be walking around on the planet with a brain like that. To have that awareness and intellect to be able to identify what you're thinking and use the right words to describe it in a way that makes logical sense. Yeah, he clearly was super intelligent. And most of those sort of academics, intellectuals are. Obviously, that's why they're called academics and intellectuals. But, yeah, I'll do a bit of research before we do this live to see if I can get my head around the silent plea. And it's so weird because, when you strip it right back to, your initial basic thought, play cement shoes. silence is often, inferred as implying guilt. So it's kind of interesting that when you do a silent plea, it's the opposite. It's indicative of innocence or a not guilty plea. He also noticed we don't want to be able to read minds. If we could, we'd lose all of our friends. I think that's the truth. Mind you, I feel like at this age I've managed to keep my circle really close and small with the people that I trust emphatically rather than when I was younger. God, when I was younger, if I could read my friends, inverted commas, minds, God, I would have fallen in a heap every day. The things that were probably being said, teenage girls. Ugh. It was bad enough hearing the horrible things that came out of their mouths without being able to read their minds and expose yourself to their darkest thoughts about you. Ugh. Can you imagine? I brought the muffins in for the office workers today. I've brought in half a dozen of the ham, cheddar and spicy relish muffins. Hopefully some people will enjoy them. The Idaho criminal rule allows the judge to enter the not guilty plea, allows BK not to commit to a guilty and not guilty plea. It allows for BK not to be scrutinised for not taking responsibility. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, see that. Think about a trial where someone has pled not guilty and they're ultimately convicted, and in the sentencing remarks, you often hear judges talking about how the convicted person hasn't shown any remorse, hasn't taken responsibility, those sorts of comments. So a silent plea takes away that scrutiny. Interesting. You know more about it than I do, Miss Kay, but you're asking me questions when I'm about to head into work, and I'm like, I need to delve into this a bit more. That's what I think with all the media and social media, the public will hammer him now they've got a different focus. I don't think the public generally, I didn't fully understand what Peter Tragos was saying, and he does talk very quickly and uses a lot of legal jargon, which I can keep up with, but what's the new focus for the public? The secret grand jury is clearly one of the focuses for the public, even though there's really no such thing. It's just a private court hearing that the public aren't invited to. Social media just, and the mainstream media, and even some responsible media outlets are just so sensationalistic these days that they get all snarky about gag orders, and it's like, why do you think they're happening, you dumb fucks? Have a look at how you report so irresponsibly and so recklessly, and how you're potentially, interfering with the course of justice and the outcome of cases. And they're also pissed off about gag orders, and it's like, there wouldn't be one if you guys were responsible. They're not talking about BK not taking responsibility for his actions. But see, even that's a bit, this is a different tangent, I think, but even that's a bit preemptive because there are millions of cases where people change their pleas. Like, to base what happens at the first arraignment on your opinion of somebody, because, I mean, as a lawyer, for example, when we're representing someone and you first take their instructions and you look at the evidence that's available at the time, and then as time goes on and you start interviewing witnesses and discovery of documents occurs, and then somebody pulls out some CCTV footage, for example, and bam, there's your client on the screen belting the shit out of someone, for argument's sake. As a lawyer, you advise your client as the matter goes along, so it's not like they come in at the start and they're pleading not guilty and you never budge from that. Like, you do have clients sometimes that as the evidence comes out, you're kind of like, dude, you're going down. Like, you can't, this is indefensible. Like, you're there on the screen doing it. You know, we might need to chat a bit more about this plea that you've initially entered at the first arraignment of not guilty, because you're actually looking fucked. You're screwed. And as your lawyer, the best I can do for you now is hopefully negotiate some sort of plea deal to get you the minimum sentence. And photoshopped. Yeah, look, I mean, this is a really basic example, but I'm just sort of explaining how I've had clients that have pled not guilty at the first arraignment, but that have then changed their plea to guilty, and we've arranged a plea deal. And when your sentencing hearing happens, judges often refer to how, especially if you have a client who pleads guilty at the first arraignment, how they took responsibility right from the start, and that is taken into account. But so is changing your plea if the evidence starts piling in and it shows that you are there doing the crime you're being accused of. You get credit for that too. It's when you have a mountain of evidence against you and you continue to push the I'm not guilty narrative that the judge will comment on that not being a good thing. But the first arraignment in itself it's the first arraignment, and both the prosecution and defence are still gathering as much evidence and speaking to as many witnesses and getting witness statements and poring over all the computer records. And, you know, like there's a lot going on. Arraignments get listed, and sometimes they're listed when, you know, only X amount of evidence is even available at that point in time. Like, didn't it get mentioned too that there's like X amount of terabytes of computer data that needs to be forensically examined? And but the fact that your comment, Miss K, that they're not talking about BK not taking responsibility, well, that's good. And surprising, because most of them really, especially on YouTube, don't give a flying fuck, you know, like they'll stream court proceedings even though there are orders in place. Oh shit, I gotta go. There's orders in place saying they can't do it. They don't really care. Yeah, reserving judgment's the way to go, as we all know. It will unravel in time. To truly follow true crime and enjoy discussing it, you've got to wait for information to come out, evidence to come out, and it's a slow process, and we've all got to be patient, you know. Yeah, I just looked at my clock, Miss K. I've got to get in there. But I really hope you can join me when I do the live. I'm probably going to do it potentially on Thursday, maybe lunchtime. I can't remember what I've got in my diary. It does have to be tested in the evidence, and I'll quickly scan this. I've really got to go though, guys. You're getting very deep and full on, and I'd love to be able to stay and keep discussing this. People being sentenced to death and later to date in some cases found not to be guilty, and I assume a death penalty requires some good evidence, so pleading not guilty despite contrary evidence is not unreasonable. Yeah, I think when DP's on the table, and that's another conversation for another time too. I think that, because we don't have the death penalty here, so that adds a whole different element to the way people plead and fight for their lives, essentially. Like, they want to make sure that it is proven well and truly beyond a reasonable doubt. And even when they are convicted, I mean, then there's that incredible never-ending appeals process that kicks in. It's pretty full on. But yeah, we don't have it here, so it's not a factor in terms of pleading. Have a great day. If you're not guilty, why admit to guilt? Oh, I can talk about that sometime too. That's another topic. There are people that enter guilty pleas when they aren't guilty, and there are reasons for it, often financial. I don't agree with it, but yeah. But I've got to go. Guys, you're throwing all this stuff into the chat that I would really love to discuss with you, but I literally am meant to be in my office right now. So I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. And in the meantime, don't get struck by a smooth criminal. See you soon.